Man, I wish people could see me. I'm looking crisp today. I just shaved,
Yeah,
you know?
I was noticing you look a little smoother than normal.
Yeah, I'm looking sharp, you know?
I'd
Put me up on a wall, I'm a
I'd say
portrait.
you're looking kind of rounded, honestly. It's not so...
I'm a snack over here.
Can I see? Wait, where are you?
Anywho's,
Oh,
hello.
Peter. Sorry, wait, really quick. You do look quite beautiful.
Oh my
Blues,
gosh,
the
India,
greens.
stop.
Your eyes
India.
are popping.
I'm just saying, shaving the eyebrows was a choice, but like this...
Alrighty. Hello, and welcome to 10 Very Big Books, a Malazan read-through podcast. This week, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to have a conversation about the entirety of Gardens of the Moon, the first book of the Malazan Book of the Fawn. My name is Peter Bond, and I've read each book in the main series. However, my two co-hosts are reading the series for the first time. With me today is my friend and closest confidant, India Jones.
It is over. I am happy. Let's go.
A tenth of the way, but and Josh Breaker, who is bringing big pulled back energy. That's right. He's been moving all day. He threw that back on out.
Yeah, 25 years young, got the back of an 80-year-old.
You noticed, you two, I changed the intro. I don't know if you caught it.
You wrote, we were reading the series for the first time, I think is what you changed.
Well, because before I had said you had read none of the books.
Yes.
But that's just straight up not true now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so... Oh, I love that.
We're moving on up, India.
We are.
You're 10% an expert. And I'm sure that's how you're feeling.
And I like it.
Alrighty, so it's the first time we're doing a wrap-up show like this, so here's kind of what we had in mind. Over the weekend, we asked some people on Twitter and the Malazan subreddit to write in their thoughts about Gardens of the Moon. We've picked out some of their responses and are going to use them as a springboard for a conversation about the book in total. But before we get to that, because we had a lot of great people write in, and I'm really excited to incorporate feedback like that, I just wanted to have a quick conversation with Josh and India about the book from a 500-foot-high perspective, big picture thoughts. You know, usually we're going in with this fine-tooth comb, you know. So to start things off, I'm going to ask Josh to summarize his entire feelings on the book in just 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm ready. I don't even need 30.
Well, I'm going to give you 30.
I'm not going to use it.
Well,
You're ruining the whole bit, Josh. You're ruining the whole bit.
And go.
Guardians of the Moon.
Gardens.
Sorry, let me get a new take.
I don't even need the 30
I don't even
seconds.
need it. Gardens of the Moon. Here's my hot take. You ready? Not that hard.
15 seconds in.
Not that hard to read.
Okay.
So fuck all the haters.
Fuck all the haters, not that hard to read. Any other take?
It was
Alrighty.
fun.
India, I'm pivoting to you.
Hit me with
and
it.
Your response doesn't need to be a rebuttal to Josh. It can just be its own thing.
Don't worry. When does my time start?
I'm ready when you are.
Count me on that clock now.
And go.
Gardens of the Moon. Boring, painful, horrible. Those are my first thoughts on the first chapters. What's happening? Who are you? Wait, you're you? Oh my gosh, your name is the same 3 times but different. And you, who aren't even a person. A Warren? What's that? Is that a people? No, it's not India. It's a place or a concept of something. Horrifying. We get to the middle. Oh, Sorry. I love Sorry. Why do I love Sorry? Because she's the only storyline I can follow, which turns out is wrong, India.
Your shot clock violation. All right, Inge, you can finish up your thought if you'd like.
Yeah, she can use my extra time that I didn't use.
Can I see? Yeah, I'm almost done here. We get to the end. Light at the end of the tunnel. Everybody is somebody. 2 people are the same somebody. The book is over. All is right again with the world. I have my life back.
Man, you know what? We should throw out Gardens of the Moon, replace it with all of that, and call it a day,
That was poetry. It was beautiful.
I truly was trying to go for more of a slam poetry vibe for this one. That was my first thought when I heard 30 seconds.
Do you think you're going to hit the Def Jam circuit after this?
You know what? We'll save that for the next book.
Oh, I see. You're really trying to cultivate the vibe, so to speak.
Oh yeah. Next time with music.
So, Josh, I've actually heard that opinion expressed through other places, and I would love you to kind of just speak more on your not that hard take, because for me, I did find it hard when I read it the first time.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear why you say that.
So, I'm not going to say that it is not a hard book to read, because it's definitely a difficult book to read in a lot of ways. But I mean,
there's a lot of hype.
Yeah, and I'll say that I think how it went is I expected to get through this book and have absolutely no idea what's going on. But really, within as far as a self-contained narrative, I feel really good about what this book is and was. And yes, I had the benefit of talking about it in a podcast, but I really think that even if I was reading it, no, I'd have not a fucking clue what else goes on in the world, and I would have some questions about the implications about some things that are mentioned in this, but as a story, I kind of get it. It's not the most complex narrative structure I've ever read. You know what I mean?
No.
That's interesting, Josh, because it's funny now. I understand the book and I feel much better about it. But when I read it the first and second time, the first time, I was much more like India. I pretty much had a loose grasp on what occurred in the book, and then books 2 and 3 is when I started to really solidify the story, so to speak.
I need to be honest. I
Please.
Still don't know how they thought it was appropriate within the last 100 pages of the book to throw in dragons. I still don't understand that. And
I like the use of the word appropriate.
I don't know. And also, coming from a person, I guess, who's never literally ever even thought that they would pick up a fantasy novel, it was really just I mean, I don't know if they're usually they make up words and make it super impossible to understand them, but just reading sentences, I was just so lost all the time, especially with how long they were. Oh my god, the sentences.
So, Inge, that's that you bring up a great point that I wanted to ask you about. I mean, we kind of joked at the start of the season and the start of Gardens of the Moon about you reading Twilight and other books that were somewhat adjacent to it. But and that's why you were like, oh, like Twilight. I was like, oh, I think it's going to be pretty different. And to me, it seems like this is probably your first big foray, and you really went into the deep end. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot more shallow pools out there that you could have entered.
Right, yeah.
So how do you think that shaded your experience reading the book? And, just speak about that, since that's my thought. I'm done. I'm good. Blah, blah, blah.
No, I see where you're headed. I'm smelling what you're stepping in. For me, I like reading books, but I've always been the kind of person that like summer reading, I just wouldn't do it if it wasn't interesting to me. So being forced kind of to read a book that I just couldn't
with your friends. With
my friends, the only reason I did it. To be interested, finding parts of it to be interested in, because this is so not, I'm into romance and crime novels. It was hard. It was really, really hard to get into it, but yeah. I mean, I think once I decided that I was gonna be, he does a good job, I guess, making you feel kind of invested in certain characters, because once I was invested in, for example, my favorite girl ever, sorry, but more so what's her name? The adjunct,
Lauren.
And Perrin?
Yeah.
Their stories to me became actually interesting, and I wanted to find out where it was going, so I started to get excited. Dare I say, not excited, but it became less painful toward the end, and I wanted to find out what was going to happen. But would that have happened with any book? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure I speak for Josh and some other people too. I mean, I think it takes real gumption to try and read the book after not reading much other fantasy. I mean, it's a big block. Yeah, it's a big meal.
For sure.
Yeah. I thought that you were really exaggerating when you sat me down and tried to tell me, India, don't do this. But I really thought you were kidding, but it was, yeah. It was not as easy as I would have thought. It's just a book. It's just a freaking book.
Just a freaking book.
Just a freaking book.
Before we start reading, because that's I want to get into the feedback, because God knows we've had a lot of conversation about us in the book. But before we get on to it, what do you think? Do you think you guys at this point would suggest picking up the Malazan Book of the Fallen to a friend? India.
No. No, I wouldn't.
Josh?
I've told probably 12 people now not to.
Yeah. See, for me, it's like an absolute suggestion must, depending on the person.
Yes. I'll say every person I've just like, they're like, whenever I don't suggest it to people, it's because they're like, oh, what's your podcast about? And I'm like, no, Debbie from down the hall, you teach childcare. You're not good. You don't want to read
This isn't for
series.
you. Erickson didn't make this for you.
I'm sorry. You've got 2 kids under the age of 4. You do not have time to be grappling with these names. All right?
Yeah.
Give it
Too much
10
of a
years
commitment.
when they're tweens and you hate them. Then you can read this book.
And that's mostly, like, I think it's a great book, and I do think a lot of people would like it. I mean, especially the series. I think the series is so good. But it is just not for everyone. This is not a Gone Girl, so to speak.
Damn straight, it's not.
I don't get the reference really.
It's a
Gone Girl?
book.
I thought
It's an amazing
I thought
book.
it was a movie.
It was.
It was a popular book first. Anyway.
Is Ben Affleck in it?
Ben Affleck was in it.
Nice. I knew that. That's all I got. I do want to say I like the book, and I will recommend it when I meet someone that has the time and gumption.
Yeah. Like when I meet a big nerd, I'm like, oh, boy, do I have a treat
Yeah,
for you.
not even not even a big nerd, just someone that I'm like, hey, this person likes tackling things that are like maybe especially literary
has some
challenges.
time on their
yeah,
hands.
yeah, that's the big one.
Josh, you read the book the whole time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. In India, you transitioned from book to audiobook maybe about, maybe 8 chapters in, something like that?
Yeah, yep.
So how do you ultimately feel about using the audiobook?
Oh, 100% would use the audiobook again. Will be buying it for the second book.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to what you guys were saying about like, oh, if, like, yeah, you're kidding kind of about like having a lot of time on your hands to read the book, but you actually, I have to
they're
prioritize.
Long. They're big books.
Yeah, exactly.
So thus
Like,
the name.
Like prioritizing reading was like the biggest thing for my to get me to successfully read it. So having the audiobook where I could listen to it when I was driving, like even for 30 minutes or sitting at work and not wanting to work.
Yeah.
It was super, 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 super helpful. And just having it whenever I wanted it, just on my phone. Like I could pick it up literally whenever, because sometimes I wanted to read it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thanks for that little conversation. And now we're going to get into some tweets and various other comments. I was stoked to have so many people write in. From the beginning, I always wanted to do something like this and have community feedback on the show. So thanks to everyone who wrote in. This is just some of them, but we had a lot of great comments. Josh, take it.
So our first tweet is from Tony Smith, who writes in, he just tells his story. I really appreciate Erickson trusting me as the reader to understand it instead of trying to baby step me along through. It's part of what makes reading the book so great. They're already long books. Imagine if he explained every detail. LOL.
Tony, he does explain every detail.
No, but I totally pick up what Tony's putting down. I mean, like, it's so funny because you do think about the books as being so long-winded, but also at the same time omitting a lot of details that I would love to know.
Incredibly vague.
So at the same time, I'm like, man, I do know a lot about how everyone's postured or what the street is like.
What's posture?
And also, what is going on? Who is this person?
He has great posture, but what's his name?
Someone pointed it out, and I guess I never really noticed that Erickson doesn't describe much how people's faces look. And ever since I read that, I'm reading the books again, and I'm like, man, not a lot of face descriptions up in this series. Anyway, India, do you want to read this next one?
Sure. This is from the user on the Malazan subreddit, Maze. I read Gardens at the first... I read Gardens and at first I had India's perspective. The fuck is this guy? Who is he? Great, another character I won't know. And I hated it. But I slowly started to love every scene, including Du Bois, aka the Bridge Burners, or Crocus and the Gang. I haven't reread it, but honestly, I moved on to book 2, and I hate it. Oh my god! Oh. Sounds odd, but I can't get through any chapter that doesn't have Du Bois in it. And I kind of got put off the series, so now I think I'm a reread Gardens. Maze, the writing is on the wall for book 2.
Listen, we'll see how book 2 goes. I just thought it was a funny comment, you know.
That is so true. Gosh, you get me, Maze.
I would say that comment was amazing.
Did I write that? Ooh.
And I would really encourage them. I really encourage Josh, Indy, I don't know if it's on your radar, but I gotta tell you, rereading Gardens of the Moon was a treat. I was so confused. I didn't think much of it in the span of the rest of the series. Reread it. I was like, oh my, this book's terrific. I didn't even know.
We're going to be reading this series for 5 years. I will not reread it until then.
Peter, I can't tell you how far off my radar that is.
I assumed it was pretty far off. However, just, getting it out there for maybe a 2030 reread, something like that.
Yeah, when we revamp and do season 2.
Yeah, something like that. Alrighty.
So the third tweet is sent to us from former member of, what's that band called?
One Direction.
One Direction, Zane. Zane writes in from Twitter.
Not spelled that way,
only thing I would... Excuse me, I'll wait.
Josh,
I'll wait.
Josh, do you know much about One Direction?
Yeah, we're doing
Josh
Drag Me Down for our
teacher.
field show this year, so...
Zane's a whole solo artist.
Yeah,
now.
I said former member.
But
What?
The name.
What?
Read the tweet.
So, the only thing I was totally confused by, and which nearly made me give up, was when Tattersail reads the Deck of Dragons. I didn't understand any of it, and I mostly still don't, LOL. The book picked up for me in the second half when they go to Darujistan.
So two different things there I wanted to ask you guys about. A lot of people say that they kind of feel more at home in Darujistan, and that they kind of found some characters to grab onto there. Did either of you feel like you particularly preferred one side between the Malazans or the Darus? And how did you feel about when you kind of shift to the city halfway through the books?
It's a tough one.
Yeah, no, I 100% loved Darujistan better, and the second half of the book way better.
Yeah, agreed. The second half's stronger. In terms of which people I liked more, I think it's that I hated everyone until about 3/4 of the way through, and then I was like, these guys all fucking rule.
And what do you think was the change of heart?
They started doing shit that fucking ruled. They were fucking clowns before that.
They were making power moves.
Yeah.
They're making power
Also,
moves.
I'm gonna to talk about the Deck of Dragons, Zane. It's fortune telling. I don't know, man.
It's so funny because I totally identify with that. Reading it the first time, I'm like, man, this makes no sense. However, knowing the rest of the series and kind of knowing what happens to the book more broadly, during that segment and other Deck of Dragons readings, you're like, oh, this is the whole plot. You know what I mean? It's just like...
they lay out the whole plot for the book in that first one, it feels like.
Oh, yeah. They list everyone who's like, all the ascendants that are major players and all these things, but...
Yeah.
I mean, when you first read it, I was very confused, so... Anyway, our next one comes in from Reddit user Endo the World in a Box.
Is that really his name?
I'm so glad you didn't make me read this one.
Gardens of the Moon was the first time I'd read a book in a while, and it put a lot of strain on my attention span and imagination. I still enjoyed it, but I felt pretty intensely that I was missing a lot. It wasn't until about halfway through Deadhouse Gates that I think my reading comprehension and attention span had once again become strong enough to keep up with everything I was reading. I also developed a discipline for my imagination, as I think the creation of a vivid mental movie made the reading experience much easier to understand and enjoy. Whenever a new character is introduced, I'd make a very deliberate effort to say their name out loud, give them a distinct image, face, and voice.
That is serious commitment.
It totally is. And I don't know how you guys are. I mean, I think sometimes there's a kind of images in my head, but sometimes I'm really more just reading. Do you guys feel like you have a lot of images in your head when you read?
Yes, because I listen. So I definitely I definitely agree with the movie thing. I do the same thing when I'm listening.
This really just fucked me up. I just realized I've literally never thought about what any of them look like except for Kruppa.
What do you think Kruppa looks like?
He looks exactly like Kruppa looks like. We all know what Kruppa looks like.
Yeah, I think we all have the same image in our head.
Yeah.
You know it in your bones.
Yeah. But, literally no one, I read this and I was like, fuck, I literally have never thought about any character. I'll say this, any of the strictly human characters, not once did I think about what they looked like as a person at all.
That's insane. That's, all I think about.
Yeah, I feel, it's kind of fucking me up right now because I'm taking this whole class on how you learn through reading, and, one of the basic things everyone's supposed to do is that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't. Oops.
Whoopsie. India, do you want to read the next tweet?
Sure. This one comes in from Scott Harlow on Twitter. Gardens of the Moon made me... Wait, nope. Gardens of the Moon... I wish we could do an outtake of just every time someone messes up. It's my favorite.
But then we'd have to do it for me reading the plot summaries, and it would be just 50 minutes of me cursing.
Yeah, fuck shit.
Truth.
Christ, fuck. Gardens of the Moon... Gardens of the Moon made much more sense on reread, especially with Warrens. Love the podcast.
Love the tweet, am I right?
Real quick, I do want to say I love when everyone like shortens Gardens of the Moon to GOTM.
Got him.
Yeah, and they capitalize the G and M, and all I read is got him every time.
Me too.
Got him. That's funny. I'd never said it out loud. Indy, I had asked you before about your first experience reading the genre, and it made me, Josh, want to ask you, since you've read, you do a lot of role-playing, you've read a fair amount of other fantasy, I want to ask kind of your impression of Malazan as a fantasy setting, and the Warrens as a magic system, which I know is a conversation point amongst some fantasy fans.
Yeah, I would say that in terms of the world itself, I like how it's like grounded in a lot of ways while still having that like important sense of fantasy where like at any moment you could turn a corner and there's like an ogre or some shit. There's tons of stuff in this world that are just like bonkers. But like, you get into Jerusalem and you can dress up as a construction worker and no one will look at you because it's just like real life and people assume other people are competent. And I like that element of like, oh, it's really grounded in a lot of ways.
I really agree. I mean, it's tough because I feel like in some way you're still there's so much of the world you haven't seen.
Yeah. I bet.
It's a world that is both simultaneously banal and also incredibly high fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And then in terms of the magic system, I mean, obviously we're only one book in, and there's so much shit we don't know yet. But I really like this idea of if you want to use magic, you probably have some innate properties, but you also have to have some sort of connection to a Warren. I'm really so curious how people get that kind of connection. Are they born with it? Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know yet. Like I'm very curious if it's if did Quick Ben choose to become a high priestess or high priest of Shadow Throne? I've got so many questions. Sure. So I'm very excited to learn more about it.
Yeah, and that's something you will ultimately.
And I'll say it's similar to some fantasy settings I've read that have magic systems. There's one called like the Traitor Sun cycle that's been kind of popular in the last couple of years. It's sort of similar where it feels like you're tapping into some sort of otherworldly thing. But this one is so much bigger and complex than a lot of things I've seen.
Yeah, it's got a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, enough of Josh speaking.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you're banished.
I'm gonna go get a drink then.
Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Anywho's. This next one comes in from Dave from Gmail. Shout out. I'm actually in the process of simultaneously listening to the Lord of the Rings audiobook with my wife while listening to Gardens of the Moon along with you guys. I noticed a couple comparisons and I thought I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. As has been noted by many people smarter than me, Tolkien was pretty sparing in his use of magic in the Lord of the Rings. Throughout the entire first book, Gandalf pretty much only makes fireworks and other minor acts. You also see this same restraint on the part of someone like George R.R. Martin in A Song of Ice and Fire. Erickson, on the other hand, kind of goes completely nuts in the first two chapters. Definitely a different approach. What do you guys think? So, I'll throw it to you, India, first, especially
there's
since...
There's no need, Peter. There's no need. I can't answer this question. I have no idea. I never even heard of Lord of the Rings. I've heard of it.
Well, okay. I was just saying you've heard of it.
Okay. We're just on question one, right? I just caught back on headset.
Yeah, it's just, how do you feel about kind of being plunged in the deep end with this magic, so to speak?
I mean, well,
it begins, essentially the book begins with the Siege of Pale, which is like, the magic is up to level 11, we're at 11,
Right. It's all kind of a blur. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I could have a smarter thought about this, but I've nothing to compare it to. So really being thrown into it was as confusing as the whole situation. It was just... So
it's about as much magic as every other book.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I'd say this is, what do I, no. It was just, I don't know. I still don't know.
Josh?
I like it a lot. I feel like I've read a lot of books. I've read a lot of young adult fantasy books, which are always about like someone being an apprentice and slowly getting more powerful and powerful. But very few books I've read where it's just like, all right, motherfuckers, and here's high mages fighting, chapter 2. Boo, boo, boo. And to relate to Tolkien,
he's on the moon.
Yeah, he's got a whole moon base. Anyway, and to relate to Tolkien, it's like I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I have had Fellowship of the Ring literally within arm's reach since December, and it's currently almost August, and I've read 6 chapters. And I
should read the rest of it.
What?
You should read the rest of it. It's a great book.
I'm very well aware of it. My coworker yells at me all the time for not finishing it, but like every time I get it, I just literally think to myself, oh, we're gonna walk some more. Like in this one, it's like, for all I know, they're gonna walk and the world's gonna erupt in lightning or some bullshit.
What if you get really snooty and start being like, well, have you heard of the Malazan Book of the Fallen?
Anyone's like, do you like Tolkien? Oh, I'm an Erickson head, personally.
Yeah, awesome. Josh, we have one more tweet to read. Do you want to read this final tweet?
Yeah. This is from John Paul on Twitter. Shouts out to my guitarist in my rock band, John Paul. Spelled differently, though. He doesn't listen. First time reader. It was rough. I'm used to Erickson's style now, starting book 8, but Gardens of the Moon was hard to keep straight. The crazy dream quests and trippy Warren imagery kept me going until about 60% of the way through. Suffice to say, I relate with India. LOL.
Thank you, Jean Paul. No. Yes.
Well, so I would love to know, now that we're here, what do you guys make of Kruppa's dreams and Kruppa's relative power level compared to other people in the book?
Unfair
I'm gonna
advantage.
say frustratingly opaque.
Well, it's certainly opaque. I don't find it frustrating at all.
I mean, I still really have yet to understand the true extent, I feel.
The true Kruppa, to really get to know the man, the myth, the legend.
Exactly.
Feels
the
like-
man behind the mask.
It feels like Kruppa could rule the world. Like, if he would just, like...
Preach, Josh,
If
preach.
Kruppa... If he could fucking focus for, like, just a minute, Peter. And not... Yeah. But, like... Because there was a moment where I really thought Kruppa and Cruel were just gonna beat what's-his-fucking-face at the end when he was trying to take over the Rujistan.
Oh, sure, race.
Yeah,
the
there we
Dragon
go.
Tyrant.
Do I need to know that name, or can I just call him the Dragon Tyrant? You can tell me. Is he gonna come up again? You can tell me. Peter, you can
It's
tell me.
Jag Cut, guys.
Peter, you can
It's
tell me.
not the last time you've seen him, but you can just call him the Jagged Tyrant, and you're gonna be all right.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, like, I really thought they were gonna take down the Dragon Tyrant, like, in his dream, which I was gonna be very disappointed in. And I was like, man, who could write a worse ending than that? And then Erickson was like, hold my beer, motherfuckers. A garden kills him. Fuck, it was a garden! Ah, gardens of the goddamn moon! Fuck. Fuck.
It's a freaking garden.
I take back everything I said. Damn it.
The man's a genius.
You sound like a real clown.
I'm so pissed at myself. God damn it.
That's so good. Alrighty.
Ah.
Josh, India, anything else you want to say? I feel like we would all be a come down from this great cap on it, you know?
I take back everything I said about Erickson. He's a beautiful genius.
India, anything you want to say about the book before we move along?
Yeah. Sayonara, Gardens of the Moon. I will
That's
not
right.
miss you.
Josh,
I don't know.
he doesn't know. Alrighty, well, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Before we all sign off, I just made a quick note that it reminded me, I've been rereading Toll the Hounds, and in it, there was an oblique mention to Jorek Sharplance, who I went on a small tirade about, like, a few episodes ago.
Oh, yeah. Why did you? Where did he come up?
Well, because he's like a minor character, and I was like, who is this Jorek Sharplance? He then never comes up again, but he came up in book 8, and that's just something.
Was he one of the guys? Was he one of the guys from the Crimson Guard?
Yeah, he's in the Crimson Guard. And it's just something I love about high fantasy, the way it just gets to tell these tiny world stories just kind of in the background of the tapestry, you know?
Yeah, that's what I hate about it.
Anywho's, so here's the deal. We're gonna wrap up the episode now, but of course I want to thank everyone who wrote in on Twitter, left comments on the subreddit, and emailed us as well. It was awesome to hear from everyone. We didn't want to read them all on air. It just felt like it'd take a long time. And we hope to get more, and we really do hope to try and incorporate feedback more on the show. This was really our first chance, and we hope it's not the last. So, coming out pretty soon on the feed. We think it'll be in a week or so, but AJ will edit it in. Me and him had a spoiler-filled conversation about Gardens of the Moon, but also we spoiled the whole series. So if you've read all 10 books, you'll be good to listen to that episode, but if you haven't read them all, I'd steer clear. But to each their own, I suppose. Anyway, that's that, and I would like to thank Josh and India for being on the show, and we'll see you when we start reading Deadhouse Gates. Woo!
Yeah.
Deadhouse Gates. Woo.
Also, go birds.
Go birds!
Go birds!
Go birds.
Hey everyone, producer AJ here again with special guest Peter Bond of 10 Very Big Books fame.
It's me from The Normal Show. You know, the host.
Yeah, he's in this nether space that I create at the end of every episode.
The Void.
The Void, which I am relegated to edit all the episodes. We just want to say thank you again for listening to this wrap-up episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We also just want to thank Dan Gesrick for our wonderful logo. You can follow him on Twitter at Dan Gesrick for the hottest baseball takes. And of course, all the music from the show comes from Amaranthin's album Simulant Rain, which you can find on bandcamp.com. Links to their pages will be in the show notes. And 10 Very Big Books will be back in 1 week with a final spoiler cast featuring Peter and I.
You may be thinking, what's Peter doing in The Void?
Yeah.
Doesn't he's on The Normal Show. What is he doing here?
Yeah, how did he even get to The Void, you know?
Exactly. Well, we had the wrap-up show this week, and we may have mentioned before, me and AJ had a conversation where we spoiled the whole series, and I talked about just a lot of Toll the Hounds and other stuff that came up when we were talking about Gardens of the Moon. And that conversation will go up in about a week, and then afterwards we're planning to start Deadhouse Gates.
Yes. So the spoiler cast, like I said, will go up on August 23rd, and then we are gonna try to have the first Deadhouse Gates episode go up on September 6th.
The reason I'm here, and the reason we say try in quotes, is that I'm moving from Philadelphia to the country of Japan over the month of August.
Oh, the country of Japan.
The country of Japan,
Wow,
not the state.
that's much farther away.
Anyway, so I'm having a move in the upcoming month, and it could impact getting the season out on time. So it may have to be a week or so later, but we're 100% releasing Deadhouse Gates.
Yes.
Everyone has their copies of the book. Yes. We're recording the season. It just there's a chance it goes up a little later than September 6th, but it's kind of hard to tell right now.
You can just follow us on Twitter at 10 Very Big Books. We'll keep you updated if the episode is going to be late or on a different day or whatever. We still kind of have to figure out how to record with the time difference. So we will figure all that stuff out. We will get back to you when the episode is officially going to come out, but we're looking for it to be September 6th.
That's the goal.
Yes.
We're going all the way through. It's just a speed bump. 10 Very Big Books. Malazan read-through podcast. One love. Lots of energy.
Forever.
Well, not forever. There's 10. It's a finite.
Yep. All right.
I guess Esselmont, but anyway.
So you'll hear from us in a week, and follow us on Twitter at 10 Very Big Books. Email us if you have anything to say. 10verybooks@gmail.com. We'll always be checking that email. Always be checking those tweets. Look forward to your feedback.
Peace.